Hi, everybody. Hopefully, I'm live and I'm hoping today to show you how I plant up my containers. Great. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to do it here just beside my greenhouse today. So I'm planting up these shallow but large containers. And I did one. Here's one I made. Here, dear. Ta-da! And I'm going planting up sister here beside me. So the first thing I suppose to say about these is they go in my pergola area, which I think you can kind of see behind me as well. And they are I fill them full of colour to make it look nice for the summer, and I try and put in climbers and stuff, which I'll go through with you. Um, Before I start any of it, I just want to say thanks a million to everybody for all the lovely comments and all the really nice reactions I had to the last one, which was my first one. I think I might even actually be more nervous about this one, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be all right. So, as I say, these are a bit unusual in that they're shallow. More often, people are planting up this sort of size container, but I have these ones and I need to plant them up. So I said I'd show you how I do them. And plus, there's a lot of stuff to squeeze into them. So the first thing with any container, whether it's a taller one or a shallow one, is the drainage. Because although your pots will have a lot of water going through them in the summer, and the plants need an awful lot of water to continue flowering and giving you a good display, if the roots of the plants are sitting in water, they don't succeed that way either. They would eventually rot. So this particular pot is very hard to show you, but it actually only has two small holes in the bottom, and it's shallow. So like I would imagine if there's too much water in that, it's going to sit in it. So to get around that, what I do is I use stones for drainage. If you go online, you'll find a million ideas for things to use for drainage, but Stony Roscommon has plenty of stones, so there's no problem for me getting stones. Other things I've used in the past, once upon a time, I used to use styrofoam, that like the tellies come packed in a box, but you're advised not to do that now because they're a source of microplastics that are harmful to animals, and the little beads break down and get into the soil and pose a problem. So I've stopped doing that. I have seen people use empty plastic bottles because obviously they don't break down and wouldn't end up in the soil. So if you have a very heavy pot and you're trying to give it a bit of drainage. The other thing about filling it up with something bulky, like I have, probably these stones are a little bit too big, but using water bottles or something like that is like in some of these big pots, you'd waste an awful lot of compost. The plants will only use a little bit near the top, and down at the bottom they're not even using it, and you've all your compost gone into it. And we're all looking for ways to save a few bob, so find something like that. The other thing you could do is put an upside down pot, smaller upside down pot inside one. And for the likes of this one in particular, which I know like it's not exactly the fanciest looking pot in the world, it has tons of drainage holes. Like this is not going to suffer from the same kind of problem as this one is. So you have to use your common sense. If I was doing this one with all the holes this has, I'd only be putting the bare minimum of drainage into it for the sake of the drainage. But if I was trying to save me a bit of space and compost, I'd probably put something that would bring it up to about there. For this one, because it's shallow enough, the drainage is probably going up to here on it. So you kind of have to use a bit of your own common sense. But the important thing is put some drainage in it. So I have my stones in it, and now I'm going to fill it up with the first layer of compost. So I put it into a bucket. Now, for compost, what I use is stuff from Aldi because I shop in Aldi. I'm not saying the Aldi stuff is great. I've no, God knows, I've no affiliate link with Aldi. But I think use anything because, to be fair, these are really only disposable plants at the end of the day. I mean, they're lovely and I love them and I try and propagate some of them. But the truth of it is, um, they'll die off, and there's no point in wasting the best of the best compost on them, I think. So I'm using this Algae stuff. Now, that said, the quality of compost in general this year is very hit and miss, not just Algae's or anyone else. Like, look, there's a lot of wood particles that haven't broken down properly. I don't know if you can see that, but I was told that that's to do with COVID and that they weren't turning the compost enough or something. I don't know, sure, COVID's blamed for everything now. Okay, so I'm putting in a base layer of compost to start it off. I don't fill it right up to the top, because if you fill it up to the top at the start and you start putting the plants in, the next thing it's spilling all over the place on you. So I just give it enough that your plants will kind of nearly sit on it. Then I can position all my plants where I want to put them, move them around till I'm happy enough with the setup, and then fill in around them with more compost. That's my style. I don't know. I'm sure it's better on Gardener's World, but I have to say, I'm planting up pots my whole life, and very rare do they not work. I don't think you can go wrong with this, really, despite all the advice. I don't overcomplicate it. Just throw them in a pot with a bit of compost, and it'll probably work out grand. But I'll show you now. So the next thing you're at now is trying to decide how you're going to arrange them, and what you're trying to do is get a balance. You're trying to maximize the drama you can get out of a pot. So you want to add in something for a bit of height. You want to add in something that fills out the pot and makes it look full and full of life. And then you want something that's probably tumbling over the side to make it look like even more full, I suppose, really. So I see them on the internet now calling that thriller, filler, and spiller, but I never heard that till this year. So anyway, but yeah, thriller, filler, and spiller. So this is my trailer, so I hope you're all duly thrilled. When I take it out of the pot now, this bit kind of probably is a bit important. Water them before you start at all. So I don't know if you can see, but that's actually fairly moist before we start. And the other thing I do is this one actually there isn't that many roots down around the bottom of it, but often there is. I usually jiggle it around, not much now, you don't want to tear roots, but just to move them out. It gives them the sort of the hint to get out of the pot and start spreading around. And look at that now, a little slug. Yuck, sorry. I'm a bit squeamish for a big one, look at that. So you definitely don't want them in it, because they love the juicy tender leaves of the type of plants you're putting in it. If you see them, leave your gloves on and take them off. So here we go. We'll put this one in. So I'm putting that in the middle but near the front. I'm calling this the front. Obviously it's a circle, so any side could be the front. And I'm going to try and match up the composition I did on the other one. So the next thing I'm going to do is the rest of the front part. I'm just fronting that as nice as I can. So I have these little guys. These are trailing lobelias. I've already used a good few of these. I showed a photo on the group there earlier on. These all came out in Lidl. But you get trailing lobelia anywhere. And it's as cheap as chips. I think a tray of, what's that, 12 plants is $1.99 or something. So you get loads of that. And they fill out into a lovely little, they don't trail very far. It's not like a big pile of ivy or anything, but a little tumbled over mound of blue and white flowers. Now, this is an assorted colour. I have no clue. They're usually magenta, white, and various shades of blue. And sometimes you can tell by the colour of the leaf. If the leaf has kind of any bit of purple, there's no one to be able to prove me right or wrong on this now, I suppose. But you can see there's kind of a darker underside to a leaf there, maybe. Hopefully you can. I reckon that means that one's definitely not a white plant. It's either going to be the darker blue or the magenta colour one. So I'm just keeping an eye to what it is with the other one. So I have a spare little baby. Oh no, I put 3 in yesterday, so I'll stick 3 in today as well. Now, when you're taking them out, here's another thing to show, I suppose. Don't pull them out by the leaf, right? You have them watered, so they're a bit more flexible in what they'll do for you. Try and squish around the base of the plant to ease it out and that it's as least traumatic for it as possible. So here's a better example of one that's a bit more root bound. You can see all these roots here going around in circles trying to find a new home. So it's time for it to get out of that size of a little pot. Now I just kind of jiggle it around without, so you can see I'm bringing out a few ends there, just to help it understand that it's going to be transplanted, basically. If you didn't do it, it doesn't matter, because I have lots of times not bothered my head, and they figure it out themselves usually. So I suppose I'm telling you both sides. I'm telling you what will give you the absolute best chance of the fastest success, and I'm also telling you don't worry about it too much, because I have taken all the shortcuts and nearly always works out okay. Probably it works out a little bit better if you take a little bit more time over it. But it's not going to be a disaster if you're under pressure. Okay. So this is where my OCD comes into play now. I'm flat out looking at this one to make sure I get it the same. These little lads, I never planted these before. They're called Ageratum or something. I don't know what they are, but I like blue and purple and they look cute. So I'm going to give them a go this year. Oh, also, um, I'm not great for colour themes. Like I try and I have notions. I look at the things on Pinterest and think, oh, wouldn't that be lovely? But in the end, I'm just so glad anything is in flower that I'm happy. It doesn't need to be fancy. So I have two of these popped in at the front on the other one. See, I'm tweaking it kind of out here and trying to take it out with the least amount of stress to it. Oh, have to come out there. And same with this one. Didn't tell the kids I was doing this, so if they arrive out, uh, you'll have to forgive me. So I'm going to do the same thing here now, just ease these roots a little bit. I didn't do that one, so I'll do the same thing with this one. I'm putting these to the front because by the looks of the label, I say I'm not familiar with them that much, by the looks of the label, they're going to stay small and butty, so there's no point in putting them further back because you won't see them. So they need to be to the front. Then you have your little trailing lads to the side that hopefully will spill out over the side of them. And then I have these verbenas. These usually, sorry, I turned around there and I know you can't hear me when I turn around. These are verbenas. I don't know what colour any of these are going to turn out either. And I don't really care because I just like the colour. It's what you like yourself. So they do kind of trail a little bit, but they're not like ivies. So far now in this pot, okay, so this pot across, I suppose, is something like 50 centimeters, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 plants in it so far. Now I'm going to go putting in another couple because even if it looks a bit mean now, it'll be full. It'll fill out awful quick when they get it a chance to water in here and adjust to their new home. They start spreading very quick, so there's no point in going. You're trying to strike a balance between them looking like you've nothing in the plant pot at the start and having too much in it that you can see nothing in a few weeks' time. So the other thing I'm putting in here now, these I grew by seeds, and I'm trying to introduce a sort of extra dimension because where I put these pots is down, as I say, in the pergola area, and I'm going to try for the first time to train these particular creepers up the poles of the pergola and hopefully go around the pergola. Don't know if it's going to work, but the Lord loves a trier, and this is these are proper climbers, and you can see they're kind of going around like an ivy would. They'll actually entwine themselves totally around other plants and everything, so I'll have to keep an eye on them. They're called Morning Glory, and I won't sing Oasis songs because it's hard. So I'm going to pop these in. I'm doing 2 of them. I don't know if it's overkill. We'll have to see. Um, they're lovely. Oh no, I'm after spilling a load of jam on top of that plant. Sorry. Sorry, little plant. Okay. And I'm putting in 2. I say, not sure if that's right or wrong, but shall we see? Oh, again. And then just because I have it and I've nowhere else to put it, which is kind of a very common theme in my garden, is I have this little bit of ivy and I'm going to stick it in because I don't have anywhere else to put it, and I'll try and train it around the front of the pot so that it sort of fills in a little gap. So now everything's in more or less the same as the other one, so I'm kind of happy enough with the look of it. I've kind of given all the roots a bit of a what's the word, massage. And now I'm going to fill in the gaps with compost. But just a word about this part, right? So you really don't, if you can avoid it, you really don't want the compost hitting the leaves of the plants, because if you think about, the leaves are the way the plant gets the light. So anything that prevents the plant getting the light to allow it to continue to bloom, it really does need the light and heat from the sun to make the flowers part of it work properly. So if you do get a bit of compost on, which I have done a bit here, you can even just brush it off like with your hand or with, I have a little dustpan brush that I use for this, so I will do that afterwards. It's a good idea, so I do that. Okay, and then actually I'm going to put on my gloves now for this bit because it is messy. The next thing you do is straightforward enough. Fill in the gap with your compost again. So there's nothing too fancy about that job. You're just trying to be careful. You want the top of your plants, so the part of the plant that was at the top of the container, to be kind of level with the top of your new container too. So you might have some that are bigger or smaller than the others and need to be propped up with a bit more compost, like I have here. These ones need a little bit of need to go in a little bit of a compost platform. This can take a bit of time because you're trying not to get it all over the place. But it's definitely easier than going the other way, filling it up to the top and trying to, you'll have compost all over the place. When you have it, when you have enough in, so what I'm going to do is I'll just do this side of it. I won't do the other side because I don't want to be taking up all your morning. But when you have one side of it done, you give them a little press down, not major, not the leaves, just with this plant. You're just kind of putting your fingers either side of it and giving it a little bit of pressure. It's the same thing. You're just trying to, give the plant a bit of instruction to grow here, please. So it just makes the roots get in contact with the compost that you put underneath them. And then you bring your compost up level with the tops of the plants. It's best if you can not to drown them in compost. You're trying to come level with where they are with it. That's worth taking your time with because when you water them, the compost will all sink down and you'll be back to your pot not looking that full. So take your time, get plenty of compost in around them, firm them down as you go, and fill in your compost. Now, there's a trick I do. I haven't done it on this one yet. Trick I do when I have them all full and I try and get it as level as I can with the top of the pot, is I go around the edge and I make a little rim around the edge of the pot because when you water it with a watering can later on, it can tend to overflow. Whereas if you have a little lip, a little rim in around the edge of the pot, it gives it somewhere for the excess water to go and give it a chance to soak in so it's not running off on your patio straight away. So when I have it fully full, I do that. Also, when you have a lump of compost, break it up. There's no, like me, you want to make it as easy as you can for those little tiny, delicate roots to get down further into the soil. So don't leave obstacles there for them if you can in through the compost. Take out anything that can't be broken down. Just get rid of it altogether. There's no point. And then when it's all done, so I pretend the whole thing is done because it's going to take a while, you give it a really, really good watering. So this side is done. When you're watering, you're trying to get it in between the plants. And what you'll see is then a little pool will gather around the rim, but it'll soak away fierce quick. And that's it then. That's it planted up. And I'll take you through in other lives about how to feed them and how to look after them the rest of the season while you're trying to get them to develop. And we'll come back to these pots and see how they're getting on. And hopefully they'll work out and not be the first pots that didn't work out for me. And that's it. I still have a few others now to find homes for. That's for the rest of the day. And thanks a million, everybody. I hope you got something out of that. And I'll be, oh my gosh, my hands are filthy. I'll be chatting to you later. Bye-bye.